Well, not right now. Great. All right, Jack, get us started. What do you got? Beetle taxi.
Alright. Beetle taxi.
Number 2 doesn't look too good.
They were like quick, and the drivers were more mindless and everything.
All right, so up here where we have like why use of beetle, you mentioned a couple things. Quick, Brendan, your word that you went with was scurrying, I think. So when you think of bugs, when you think of insects, something that is quick, scurrying around from place to place. And you said, Jack, not human?
Like mindless.
Mindless, okay. So a criticism that we would have of insects, or maybe not criticism, but a thing that I think human beings in general will probably say about insects, animals in general, not the same as people, where they don't necessarily think about things as well. A lot of you were kind of talking about, well, you got a transformation of Gregor where he kind of became a bug. Why does he become a bug? Because we think of that as being unhuman, not necessarily as developed as what we would be. Why would it be significant that quick, scurrying, mindless would get used to describe cars? And I think you can think about this for being number 1. You can also think about this for being kind of number 4, where it gets repeated again. Why would this kind of tie in with what Bradbury would be using to describe as cars, quick, mindless, scurrying around, going from place to place? Like the car's mindless because it's not an actual person, or?
Like the person in the car is
Okay, so drivers are mindless. What would be some habits that we know drivers have within the book? Not people you see going down Big Nightmare Road. Remember any numbers, roughly speaking? 90. They even go up as high, I mean, that'd be typical. They go up at least 120, 130 miles per hour. The number 4 reference that we have to the repetition of Beetle talks about them coming down 120, 130. And you even hear upwards of, 150 miles an hour. So certainly reckless would be a way to describe that when you got 120 to 130 miles per hour. And we also know that what happens a fair amount of the time with such reckless drivers going so fast? Accidents happen. Clarice death is attributed to teenager driver. Guy has an instance later on here where he thinks he is going to be hit. So we know that there are certainly a lot of accidents that involve not just other cars, but could be pedestrians and all that kind of stuff as well. I would assume, too, something that might go along with it, when you think of a Beetle and you think of a car, a lot of folks think of the VW, punch buggy and all that kind of stuff. I think Volkswagen starts production in like 1938 or something. Post-World War II, though, there is certainly a boom of them within the United States. So there would be a lot of them kind of coming in as well. So that might be a reason why you would kind of be going with the Beetle. When's the last time you did a punch buggy? Yesterday. We got punch buggies. They do stuff for minis, motorcycles. My kids are nuts. Padiddles, but they can't say padiddle, so it's like fiddle. Kids these days. Detours. I didn't know that one. Is that a punch?
Yeah.
All right. All right, page 110, 111. What's our context here for Great Idiot Monsters quote? What's happening? He's in his house. And because it's the beginning of part 3, Nate, what's he doing to the house? All right, burning down his house. His being Guy. Specifically, the room that he is in at this time when he is burning it down, he is not in the kitchen, he's not in the dining room. It only took Nate half an hour to locate where he was, but you successfully discovered that he is in the parlor. Who loved spending time in the parlor? Not Clarice, but this would have been Millie's favorite room. So, knowing from a context standpoint that this was Millie's favorite room, it makes sense that who would be the great idiot monsters? Those would be
The TV people.
the TV people. Anyone remember how else within that passage they are described? Well, but within that specific quote, the great idiot monsters that at that time they lay. Pardon? We'll mention vacuums, that's at the end, but they are not up, but they are having dreams, snowy dreams, because the great idiot monsters are laying asleep. The TVs are off, and now he is about to destroy them. So the idiot monsters would be referring to, so you get a little bit of personification here, the sleeping TV screens that he is about to burn and that are going to be upset. Why would you refer to TV as being an idiot monster? I think the idiot part probably pretty familiar with based on the things that we've been talking about with the book. Okay, so there's nothing worthwhile, there's not anything deep that is sophisticated that is coming from it. So the TV screens cause the audience to be quote unquote idiots.
It's like, the TVs don't have minds of their own, so.
Yeah. Even though she being Millie, think that they are, like they're her family, but they truly don't have a mind. So just like, the cars that we were talking about before, they are mindless. What about monsters? Big, bad, scary monsters. Why were you terrified of monsters under your bed or in your closet when you were a little kid? Or why are you scared? What do they do if they take you away? What have they done to your family? If they are under your bed and Tommy's afraid that they're going to take them away, they end up splitting apart a family based on the fact that Guy likes books, Millie likes TV. What have the TVs done to the family? Just like a monster, split it apart, have caused it to separate, taking people away. So the monster has the ability to tear apart families. Just like where the wild things are. Did you see the movie? Kind of like the movie. I was disappointed. All right, where's the needle coming from? Hound is coming from the mechanical hound. So, what ends up kind of being a little bit of a battle, and this is going to be an abstract, but what is a little bit of a battle that ends up happening between Guy and what happens with the hound? He gets shot with not shot, but he gets stabbed with the needle. Needle injects fluid into him, almost like a poison. He is in great at this point? He's in great physical pain. What would be the easy thing to do? Cry. Give up. Stop. Lay there. Get arrested by the police. Potentially, you could die. You just killed Beatty. The home's burning. You could do a bit of a suicide there with the flamethrower necessarily if you wanted.
Cauterize the legs. I guess I wouldn't work.
I might go a little too far with it. So, easy thing at this point would be to give up. However, he still keeps going. Whereas physical pain would force one to potentially give up, why would he keep going? What would he want to pursue that would have him still trying to go further, go to Faber's house, leave Faber's house, deal with the mechanical hound chase, kind of get recorded on TV where it switches to the scapegoat, float down the river, go to where Granger and the guys are? What would be the pursuit? What would be the motivation? What would be the inspiration to have him keep going? Books. And to kind of have like an abstract idea to go along with the books, and I would completely agree with what Julia said, I would argue that it would be intellectual. He wants to be able to think for himself. You want to be able to think for yourself, you want to have intellectual freedom.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech would certainly be part of that, you know. Freedom to knowledge, right to know, avoiding things like censorship and things of that nature. But the effect for it is he kind of recognizes that for him, this is a battle that he is going to be worth giving up. We mentioned about Beatty that, hey, it's possible, and Montauk certainly thinks it so, that Beatty wants to die, and maybe a reason is because he too has a desire for books, but he's not willing to fight for that intellectual freedom. He's willing to simply die, sacrifice through physical pain by having Montauk end up killing him with the flamethrower. So this pursuit of intellectual freedom, which certainly probably something that we end up taking for granted in today's world, is something that he will fight for, even if it means overcoming immense physical pain, hardship, any of those things. All right? This one we already kind of referred to a little bit with the beetle. What's the context of this scene on 121? Why is he mentioning the beetle over and over and over again? Okay, so this is when he feels that he is going to be hit by the cars. So he is... Specifically, we have teenagers that are mentioned, you know, as being the drivers, and all those things that we kind of put up here for number one so far as not being the car itself, not thinking about the drivers, but that they are mindless, reckless. I would say it'd be a reinforcement of that idea coming up over and over and over again. So this would essentially just be a reinforcement, a continuation of ideas from number one. No need for us to kind of have to repeat all of that stuff all over again. Why is the scent of Montauk important? For his personal well-being and safety. Okay, so this is what the hound uses to find Montauk. What are things that he tries to do to mask his scent? This is kind of more of a review from what we had with Twiz before. Pardon?
Doesn't like Granger help him?
Not Granger. Faber. So Faber gives him, and there's pretty much two main things that he has. Old clothes. And then to kind of help with the chemical compound to change the scent also gives him alcohol. And not like to drink necessarily, but just that, you know, you have a different scent that's going to be with you. So these things combined are able to hide the scents. Right. After you give us a wonderful explanation for number 6. Which one? reinforcement of ideas from number one. What do you think, Connor? Number 6.
I really did that one. Sorry, I advanced.
What's happening when we got Montauk running?
20 million.
Like, why would he be running? Pardon? Okay, so he's being chased by the hound. As he's being chased, how are people made aware that he is being chased by the hound? How would the average person know there is a pursuit dog going after a guy? It's being filmed from above, so this is being broadcasted on TV. So, Connor, not that we would have like literally 20 guys running down the street, but in what way could there be, in a large city like in Los Angeles, how could there be 20 million Montauk's watching all at once? You could have 20 million people doing what? Watching TV. All right. So, and I know we haven't quite gotten into the symbolism here, but it's being broadcasted where we have 20 million viewers. What is therefore then a little bit of the social commentary taking place if you have 20 million people just simply all glued to the TV here at the same time? 20 million people, probably about 20 million people in the city. All that they do, live and breathe, is simply all these folks do nothing but watch TV. So since it's symbolism, we have a literal meaning, 20 million people watching TV, and then we also kind of have an abstract symbolic meaning. What idea would he be trying to get across if all these people do nothing but watch TV? And you can think back even to the short story Pedestrian when Leonard's walking around the streets. People could be obsessed with the technology that they have. People are easily gullible into whatever they need to do. Like if the government wants to broadcast this to 20 million people, they're all automatically going to be glued to it. If you're watching TV and all of a sudden it goes special report, and there's going to be some kind of newscast that's taking place, what do?
I usually change it. Turn it off.
I wonder how many people would watch it. Probably like a 50-50. It might depend upon what you know is going on in the circumstance. But I bet if you're watching TV, we're expecting entertainment, news report kind of comes in, we probably end up switching to something else, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but that control over people isn't probably as profound today as it would be in the way that it would have been in the setup of the story. So the fact that you have mindless obsession, he's kind of emphasizing that everyone's going to be watching this all at one time. Which, and I know this isn't really kind of part of the question or the idea on here, what's the resolution to this conflict? Montauk being chased by the hound? They find the scapegoat. They find the random guy. It seems to be like, could be Clarice's uncle kind of characterization, or it could be like the story that we had with the pedestrian. Because you have so many people watching, there has to be an ending. There must be a conclusion or a resolution to it that is going to keep everyone happy. Therefore, that's why we end up getting the scapegoat, because we can't have 20 million people asking questions as to what ended up happening to him at the very end. Strange fire. Montauk gets out of the city. Montauk goes down the river. It's following train tracks. Everyone loves bacon. You don't like bacon?
I don't know if someone's been holding it in like a handkerchief though, and then just it's like pull that out of a cloth.
You could pull bacon out of your shoe and I would probably eat it.
Ew.
Assuming it's cooked. Not raw bacon.
Yeah, just pull like a slab of raw bacon.
Well,
Yes.
if they have it in their foot and then you fry it, then
Well, yeah, he said it was raw, and then they were cooking it as they were like.
What are they cooking it over? All right. So, Ranger and Company. Before, so in parts 1 and 2, fire represents destruction. I think, yeah, would be a good word. Here at the end, so end of part 3 at least, fire that these folks have, what does it represent? What a terrible word. All that is good in the world.
Fantastic.
Besides cooking, what's the main reason? What would they mainly be using the fire for? Because they got all these barrels. Warmth, heat, comfort, and yeah, light's going to go along with it. So
Fire doesn't have a shadow.
warmth, light.
I
Add those things together, plus the ability to fry your bacon, you end up having life. And we even kind of mentioned this a little bit after part 3 with the sun, with the recognition that he kind of starts to have with the sun. The sun is always going to burn. The sun will always provide light. I don't have to burn. The way that I burn ends up providing destruction. Life is more important than death. Life is more important than destroying books. So we may as well try to put an end to that one. So this idea that you have a major shift that is taking place in the perception. Fire goes from something that is meant to destroy, or fire is also done as a means of control. Now it provides warmth, it provides light, it provides life. You could argue that it even provides a sense of freedom because it can sustain these people when they are outside the city. And certainly this idea of light will be something that really we even get to with what do we mean by burning bright as the title chapter overall. We'll wait here until the end to get that. But certainly the fact that we have a significant shift here in perspective and realization is the main point that we have with this strange fire. What's the connotation? Hello, update. When we say strange, what would be a synonym for it? Different. Abstract. Connor, give me another word for strange. Pardon? Weird. Unusual, odd, different. So this would be a fire that he is entirely unaccustomed to. We're book burners too. Who's the weird?
Ranger and Co.
I'll go company. And they are outcasts. So what do they do?
I need to go.
For you have pass?
No.
I can't let you leave. What?
They burn books after they're done.
So what do they do with them?
They read them.
They memorize it.
Read, memorize, burn. So, by them being memorized, they are therefore preserved. So the fire before, where we burn them, we're going to destroy them. Here, by them being able to memorize them, they end up getting preserved. And because they are ingrained in their memory, so each one is responsible for a book. So this person's Twain, this person could be a chapter from the Bible, this person could be Homer. If you recall, that Digital Nation, where you just got the study guide back, because I meant for you to have that in your notebook, one of the arguments at the very end was as books started to be printed, an aspect of the human mind that began to deteriorate was that we did not remember, we did not memorize things as well. If they are able to memorize them, then the books can still be passed down, even if it's not a physical copy of it that is going from person to person. So while we have a mirror factory where people are going to have to look at each other in the mirror, they are going to have to talk to one another, they are going to have to recognize who they are, and they can therefore kind of convey that knowledge to themselves so that those things can continue to be preserved. I think we might have lost the smart board. As they are going towards the city that is now in flames, why would Guy be at the front? Well, he had just been there, and if you're in a group of people, generally, who's our person at the front? Leader. Our leader. So it's not that he will now be president of the United States of America, but he would at least be expected to kind of be part of that leader that is going to bring a new change to the world. Burning bright. We think of big fires. One of the things we said for, well, it's not there anymore, the strange fire would be it provides light. You almost kind of think of it as being a torch, as a new light, as a new way of looking at things. So that meaning of burning bright could be that you still have humanity who's going to continue to be able to do things and have some kind of change. Okay? Mark, I can't let you leave.
I gotta go.
Mark, you cannot leave. I do not have a pass for you.
Sorry. Did you say sorry?
Yes, sorry, I see before.
This man's gonna waited like 5 minutes for the bell.
For the, yeah.
6 minutes.
You just see like Mr. Warren's like,
Oh my god. 5 minutes still.
What?
Yeah, you see, as soon as we're walking
I told you.
Alright, we're not done. We still got stuff. Alright, so at the very end of the book, take out your book. And if you don't have it, look at the person who's going to be next to you. We're going to the very end, page 157. Uh, 158, I'm sorry, 158.
Oh my god.
Dylan just slapped my book.
You know what? Looks better than Nate's iPad.
Wait,
Actually, your new iPad looks good. 158. Like the last page of the story. Let's, stay on 158. I'm going back to 157 to read the last sentence that leads into it. Montauk left the slow stir of words, the slow simmer, and when it came to his turn, let's see again. Follow on. What could he say? What could he offer on a day like this to make a trip a little easier? To everything there is a season, yes. A time to break down, a time to build up, yes. A time to keep silence and a time to speak, yes. All that. But what else? What else? Something, something. And then you have the switch where it's going into italics. And on either side of the river was there a tree of life which bare 12 manner of fruits and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. The italics, it's coming from a book. Based on things that Guy has been reading, 158, based on things that we know Guy's been reading throughout the course of the novel, what book do you think is a pretty good guess as to where this is coming from? It's coming from the Bible. On either side of the river was there a tree of life which bare 12 manner of fruits and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. That comes from the book of the last book in the Bible, last book in the New Testament, Revelation. Revelation is a dream that one of the apostles, John, has, which is essentially the end of the world, and then the new beginning takes place. And this would be when like Savior is coming back to earth and all that kind of stuff. So the illusion that he ends up pulling from would be coming from this doomsday story that you kind of have in the Bible, but then there is a new hope that is going to take shape, like Star Wars. So burning bright, you have this torch, you have this new light, you have this new beginning, which would certainly tie in with Ranger makes comparison to what bird? A phoenix that burns to ashes and then comes back to life. That would be the hope that we would have with civilization here by the end of the story. So tomorrow, I'll have a printout of the exercise part 3, 19 questions. Take your time with it, you'll have the whole year. Make sure you
I just don't get it.
Okay,
It's like you believe in this guy so much. How come you like think
what? So you said Friday.
What is blind? How is blind?
Dude, my dad forced me.
I forget that you're. I don't keep
I keep it in the drawer under my bed. Dude, my dad is like, here's like children's Bible, here's an adult Bible, like that. I don't read.
Yeah.
Now he likes my stuff.